All
All right.
right. Do you know where you are? You're in the kitchen sink, baby. Time to deep sink dive.
Oh yeah.
Speaking
So,
of Guns N' Roses, I thought, why don't we talk about the real Chinese democracy?
hmm
Well, it's actually one of your ideas from recent Lightning Strikes Twice. Well, soon to come Lightning Strikes Twice for the viewers.
yeah, we're sort of time travelers here, you
Yeah,
know?
in a way.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, and
But
what I brought up is basically the question was, is China more capitalist than the US? And I think they are. They're definitely more free market than the US is. Um, and that would probably take some people aback because, you know, in the US, everybody is propagandized and told that, oh, it's all this freedom and da da da. And we're all about capitalism and business and stuff. And like, when people will call the US capitalist, like as like a criticism, they'll be like, oh, the capitalism, da da da. I always think we're not really capitalist. I mean, there's a sprinkling, a little seasoning of capitalism within the soup, but it's largely a fascistic corporatocracy. So it's like, yeah, you can run businesses, but the government, there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of processes and a lot of forms to fill out and shit like that.
well,
And it isn't that necessarily that way in China. And they're like,
I
but China's communist.
I recognize it's hard to detach politics from economics because they really affect one another.
Mm-hmm.
But what exactly is it that I mean I detect like a sense of no true Scotsman in the whole like this isn't really capitalism, you know, like well like at what point does it cross the line of no longer being capitalism and where in the world can capitalism exist in a vacuum where the politics aren't in some way affecting it, you
Well,
know?
those are good points. And I mean, in my mind, um, I guess quote unquote true capitalism is a free market,
Hmm.
like a unimpeded free market where people are free to start up businesses and sell things and services, and people are free to buy and they decide on the price. The market decides. That's like proper capitalism in my mind. Um,
Well, how is that not the case in the US though? Because I mean,
well,
largely that does sound a lot like what the US is doing.
like I said, it is partially that way, but you have a lot of manipulation by powerful forces that utilize the government to kind of tweak things in their favor. And and the government has a lot of control over everything. Like and so I guess that's my gripe about it because it is a corporatocracy. Like you have these corporations and the government kind of like intermingling and like revolving door politics and stuff. And like basically, if you get big enough, you can leverage your control over the government to squish your opposition, or maybe make things a little bit more favorable to you. Whereas, like in a true free market, the market would decide. The government would not have any say in anything. Um, so that's why I don't believe the U.S. is truly capitalist.
Hmm.
Um,
Uh, yeah, I mean, I
it's a definitions thing, and everybody's kind of got their own sort of angle on that.
yeah, I feel like I prefer to keep the when talking about the economy strictly, I prefer to keep political definitions out of it because, you know, like the vehicle upon which the economy is driven
Mm.
in the US and in China, apparently. I actually don't know that much about it
Mhm.
personally, but it sounds to me like capitalism is driving those cars.
Largely,
Now the
yeah.
roads that they're driving upon were built by completely different styles of government.
Yes.
And they're still capable of driving, and people are still capable of getting in and out of those cars pretty much at will.
Hmm.
But they might have different rules of the road that they're driving upon, right?
Yeah,
So
it's a pretty good analogy, I think. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I choose to see it. So like I don't I don't like saying America's not capitalist because they're driven, like corporations use their money to win favor with the government and stuff. Like that is all true, and that's all shitty.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's also not happening in China. I mean, I know it happens in Russia. I know it happens in other
Oh,
countries. Like
absolutely in Russia, yeah.
so. So
Well, in
like
other countries
I don't
too.
know
And
if that's a
well,
really like a standalone argument for.
this is maybe this is why maybe we should kind of rephrase things that like you said, it's like capitalism is sort of the cars on the road, but the road is the other stuff, like something
Mhm.
else. And but basically what I want to put forth as a proposition is that we don't in the US have a free market. It's not a true free market. And that's why I call it a corporatocracy, because I think it's important for us to recognize the the influences on the market, and that it's like it isn't the market's fault that certain things happened. It's oftentimes the government's fault, and by extension mega corporations who have manipulated the government into doing things. And and it's like, well, and even the government itself is like a mega corporation too. Like in the US, I think we can argue, you know, tens of
Yeah.
trillions of dollars. Like there's a lot of money to be made within government. So they do their own thing too.
Yeah. I mean, if politicians make profit from their work, uh, especially as a direct result of using their work
Mm-hmm.
in order to influence their personal profit, like that is definitely like, I mean, we've talked to no end about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if, like because again, going back to the idea that a government does exert influence upon its economy. So, like, of course, like you you can't really say like any market is free because, of course, the government does need to like exert some influence on it in order for it to actually function within the infrastructure that that government provides, right? Like a car can't be like, well, you know what? Like, fuck your roads. I'm just gonna have like giant, like titanium spiked wheels, like wheeled warriors shit,
Yeah,
and
dude,
I'm gonna
wheeled
tear up
warriors.
all your roads.
Yeah.
Like,
Man, that's a deep reference there, man. Wheeled warriors. I still have some of those toys, by the way.
mm,
Um, yeah,
awesome.
I got a couple
Um,
of them.
but you know
Well,
what I'm
no, you're
saying?
right.
Like,
And
like,
that's, well, so government, in the context of like economic structure, government should act as a stabilizing force and I guess, like mitigating disputes, like solving, like whenever there's a dispute about something, then that's where the government could do something, but they shouldn't be actively pulling the strings. That's my issue, I guess, that I take with it.
yeah, and I
Because
mean,
that's a tantalizing thing for like these big mega corporations to come in and be like, well, hey, you know what? Why don't you do this? And then you're going to make a bunch of money. And they shouldn't be able to make a bunch of money like the politicians making these decisions. It should be like arbiters, basically, like people like settling disputes.
yeah.
and that's about it. And just making sure that everybody's playing fair. Really, that's kind of what it comes down to. So yeah, if you're a
Well,
wheel
playing
warrior trying
fair,
to,
yes. Like I,
yeah,
I'm I'm a big fan of regulation, and in my eyes, I see regulation as just ensuring that each of these businesses is playing fair, not only amongst themselves, but also to the consumer, to the government, like accountable on in like a three-dimensional space, like you're not screwing over
yeah,
your fellow businesses, you're not screwing over your customers, you're not screwing us over. You pay your fair taxes, you provide a good product at a decent price, and you're not like trying to squish smaller companies, blah, blah, blah. Like that, I don't see that as like interfering with day-to-day operations or micromanaging or anything like that. It's really just kind of like a safety net that's good for everybody. But
well,
shit,
and I
like
could,
permits though, like what the fuck is the point? Like,
yeah,
like that
I
is
know.
just bureaucratic money grabbing shit. Like,
It is. Oh, and I mean, yeah, the amount of paperwork. If you're trying to run a business, I mean, we ran a business, um, and the amount of fucking paperwork you got to go through in the U.S. is just astounding. It like it.
I mean, it wasn't so bad for us if we just had a partnership, but
Yeah,
an
yeah, we did keep
LLC
it.
is a little more
Hmm.
complex.
And if you start a corporation, now see, here's I guess maybe my thought. If we want to make it a true free market, you don't have to get a license to operate a business. Like, do you have to get a license to I don't know, have a garage sale? What, so why would you have to get a license to run a business? You just run the business. And then, you know, okay, maybe I guess protecting names and IPs and stuff like that, that sort of makes sense to me. But like, why can't you just open the doors and be like, well, here we are,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then
Like, I
only
mean,
if something goes sideways, right? Like if you open a little, I don't know, taco truck or something like that, you shouldn't have to have a license. There doesn't need to be a bunch of food safety, blah blah blah. But if people start getting sick, that's when the state can drop the hammer.
right. Yeah. Like, it would be a good idea to do it for your own safety.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to, but I feel like if that were the case, that should be at least clearly stated,
Yeah.
like this is a freely owned and operated establishment,
Mm-hmm.
buyer beware sort of statement,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that
Well,
should be kind of um, obvious, let's
well,
say,
because if you
like,
go across the world, most places across the world just operate like that. You go to these countries, like Asian countries or whatever, and they just kind of open up shop and start
yeah, but
cooking
you know what
food.
else is like very popular about those kinds of places is like foodborne illnesses and like
Yeah, but
people
you
getting
won't.
ripped off all the time.
That's true, but you won't
Yeah,
last long. Like, yes, you may be able to get away with it for a short time, but you won't last long. Like, you won't. You'll be out of a job essentially if you fuck up.
I
So there's
mean,
interest in like maintaining some measure of quality there.
yeah, I mean that might be true for the
That's your
individual, but
livelihood. That's
yeah, but
you're feeding your kids with this, so like
yeah,
it's
but
in your
like
interest.
with the lack of regulation, those problems never go away. They basically just get swept around.
Well,
Oh, you shut that shop down, but you didn't fix the problem.
well,
Like
and
there's still other
actually,
shops doing that shit.
the stupid thing is, even with all these regulations, people still get sick. Remember Dollar Chinese?
Yeah.
like, like, so what is it? What's the point? Like, and this is where the market can actually basically keep that in check, in my opinion. Um, like if we had a little bit more freedom in that regard, I think things would be just fine.
I mean, going back to our last episode, talking about like the overall intelligence of the majority, let's say. The market's not always that smart, though. Like,
Well, it is when you get enough people. Like one person can be dumb, but it's called the wisdom of the crowds. You get enough people together, and you can like the average of their decisions turns out to be basically correct. So and I here's the thing, I wouldn't trust politicians to be wiser than the average person, um, like especially because they have an interest in making decisions that benefit them and benefit the establishment. So like nobody wins. Whatever direction you
right.
go,
Yeah. I
everybody,
mean,
it's all shit.
that right there highlights the point to stop and be like, okay, I think we've identified where the problem is, and it's with, the corruption angle. Because here's the thing, like, fewer people making decisions about things like that ought to be actually more trustworthy. When you think about it, like, like everyone remembers in the late 80s or whatever, the Holy Coli thing kind of
Yeah.
spawned at Jack in the Box. And Jack in the Box spent another couple decades kind of dominating fast food. They
Mm-hmm.
just had a minor blip, and then everyone just kept going back there,
Yeah.
Like, that's the wisdom of the crowd, like, oh shit, they just like killed a bunch of people and made a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of other people like super, super sick. But you know what? They probably fixed it. It's fine, like,
Well,
yeah.
actually, yeah, Jack in the Box, that they had a whole marketing campaign about like, oh, we cook it fresh right there as you order. Like,
Mhm.
okay, it's going to be a little slower in the drive-through, but like everything is made as you order it, we make it.
Yeah.
It isn't like stacked up sitting there near the bathrooms or whatever, waiting to be grabbed. Um, so, like, I mean, because they had to, because the competition was fierce.
Hmm.
Like Taco Bell would have completely overtaken them, or something. I mean, like they wouldn't have
I
been
mean,
able to
now they have
stop.
their cyclospora thing going on,
Yeah, well,
right?
yeah, that's true. Well, and there's always going to be something like that. And I don't know
Mhm.
that it's like any particular, like you can't necessarily blame a particular company. It's like, well, they ordered
No,
from this farm and they
it's
didn't
actually like
know.
Taylor Farms is kind of the core of the problem, as
Yeah.
I understand it.
And then
Like,
they're like, well,
but
we're just not going to order from them now. So, okay,
yeah,
everything moving forward, we've destroyed all the stuff and we're ordering from another place that
yeah,
hopefully will be okay. And that's the way it should work. Like, and
I
that's a
agree. Yeah,
that's a market-based correction where you
yeah.
don't, I mean, obviously the government is
I
going to come in
mean,
and try to fine people and
If
stuff.
Taylor Farms actually takes a big enough hit that they go out of business, I would consider that a win for free market.
Yeah.
But I doubt that will actually happen, right? Because here's where the
They
corporate angle
well,
comes into it,
true.
like,
Yeah, it is kind of a mess, but maybe that the farms will like get a little bit concerned and be like, "Uh-oh, we're going out of business. We better do something fast." And then they're going to come up with some kind of strategy to make
hmm,
sure that that never happens again.
yeah.
It's like Soyuz, the Soyuz launch system, the spacecraft and the rocket and all that stuff. The first two missions were disastrous. And then the engineers were like, "You know what? We're never losing a cosmonaut ever again." So they improved the design and they made it like fucking indestructible. And now it's the safest way to fly into space.
Hmm.
It's the only way I would fly into space right now. If someone's like, "Hey, you get a free ticket to go to space," I'd be like, "Okay, I'm going to Baikonur, and taking off in a Soyuz." Um,
Yeah, I mean, I, uh, I would like to see a system that could find a way to work in more of a free market fashion with certain safety,
mhm.
regulations in place. and and all these problems usually just come about because like an individual or a company wanted to try to find a way around those safety regulations just to improve their profit margin or whatever, and then they get bit in the ass by it, right? So like
Yeah.
you would think that like that should tell you like, oh, people or markets in general should gravitate automatically toward self-regulating, but it actually speaks volumes for the opposite. Like if there's a way around it, they will absolutely take the path of least resistance in order to maximize their profits. So like,
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree and disagree, I guess, in that regard. Um, I,
I mean, they're not doing it just to flip the bird to the government or something. They're doing it for the money,
well,
like,
yeah, and I guess if you're caught doing that, there should be a severe punishment. And I don't want to go so far as to say a public hanging, but
I mean,
that
talk
would
about moving away from the free market.
dissuade people. Well, I mean, the market speaks, and that the word is noose. So it that might be because you would dissuade people from doing that in the future. They'd be like, "Oh shit!" Like, yeah, we don't want to make the people angry. Because here's the problem: is like when the government, like people do things and it involves the government. Basically, if you have enough money, you can get away with it. Like they'll let it slide. You're gonna get a slap on the wrist. Like look at Enron, you know, like that kind of thing. And and politicians doing shady shit. There should be some kind of severe punishment for that. Like
Yeah.
you're tasked with keeping it like you're tasked with keeping things peaceful, safe, and fair. And if you can't manage to do that, well, there will be some kind of hell to pay. Otherwise, we shouldn't even have a system at all. Is kind of my take on it. Like there should be a system in place to severely punish bad actors
Hmm.
and like don't hold back. Like Karate Kid, no mercy. you know, sweep the leg.
That's the ultimate question, isn't it? Like where is the balancing point between hmm, like total authoritarianism, like oh, do this or die,
Mhm.
and like strongly worded suggestions, which behooves everyone to kind of heed, right? Like, like, which, yeah, like, I feel like the system we've built had that good intention, right? It's like, okay, we're
Sure.
gonna
Oh
try
yeah.
to make this as free a market as possible, but also lay out some guidelines for people to be like, okay, look, here's all these mistakes that we've discovered along the way. These are the things that you should be doing.
Mhm.
And we would like to make sure that you're doing them in order to keep operating your business because otherwise, like, a lot of people could get hurt or killed. And then people, or, let's say corporations are just like, yeah, but maybe not.
Yeah.
And
Well, oh yeah.
and then
Well,
they try
what if
shit.
I didn't?
Yeah. So it's
Well.
like how do you like we've talked about this before in
Mhm.
episodes about the death penalty and in general, like at large, usually talking about murderers and rapists and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
if you have a repeat offender over and over and over again, I mean, what do you do? Like you probably do have to kill them, right? So why not
Yeah.
extend that out to fucking corporations that are actually like mass murdering people if you scale that up and kind of loosen your definitions from what corporations are capable of or not. Like if we're going to call them people anyway, let's let them be murderers, right? I mean, come
Well,
on.
and we should extend the same to the
You take the
government
bad with
too.
the good, right?
We
Like
should
if you want to
extend the
be a
same.
person, you're capable of murder.
We should extend the same to the government as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And accountability, that's a big thing that like I think is kind of slipped away over the years. Also, bureaucratic bloat. That's my concern about having these regulations is like, yeah, it made sense at one point in time. There's a few simple rules. You just do these things. But then now you've got more and more and more bureaucrats, and they're typing away on their monkey keyboards and, making more and more rules because like, oh, well, there's this little tiny thing that happened this one time over here. So now everybody's got to follow it. Like, okay, we need to simplify it. If there are rules, the rules ought to be very, very simple, as far as I'm concerned. And that's tough. Like, I honestly don't know how to achieve that, because the second you put in place a system that can expand, well, it will expand. It's like the whole like you add lanes to freeways thinking, oh, well, we'll ease traffic, and traffic is just as bad with like 9 lanes in one direction. Like, what the fuck? Why? How is this possible? Because it's like it fills the void, the vacuum. And I don't know how to mitigate that, how to keep that from like happening, but we need to keep it from happening. Because I think everybody can agree there should be some rules.
It's not the volume of cars, it's the free will that's the problem. Like,
well, yeah, but then you're what you said about like full on totalitarianism, like, okay, well, that will probably stop the free will. But then you're now trying to drive a car in Pyongyang, like,
yeah.
good luck. So like, I don't know the middle point. And I mean, it's like, I guess that's kind of an eternal struggle, isn't it?
Mm.
Like, where do we go? Which direction? How do we make things as good as we possibly can for the most people? I don't know.
I think regulation, when it comes to stuff like, like going back to the whole capitalism, free market idea, like anything that really has any kind of impact on the bottom line, which I guess would be just about anything. So, uh, like maybe it would make sense to farm out all of that work from the government to like nonprofit organizations, like third party, private,
Yeah.
and nonprofit organizations, like kind of create options for companies to choose like which broker they would like to use for regulatory compliance.
Yeah.
Because like the actual like bureaucratic end of things isn't that much. And the compliance end of things, like when you think about like how much product gets checked versus how much product actually gets made and sent out, like you kind of wonder like how are they catching anything? Like it's a statistically quite small pool
They take a
of
small
shit that
sample.
they're checking. So like,
Well, especially when it's like USDA food safety
mhm.
stuff and whatnot. Like,
And
yeah, I
even
mean,
that
the
does make
whole
sense. I mean, you can't like slow everything to a fucking crawl just for the
no.
sake of checking every little
Oh,
detail.
you can like imagine like if
Even
they had
even
to
the
look
government
at everything.
recognizes that. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. Well, because people don't want to have to spend that kind of money and that kind of time, and wait that long for stuff.
hmm,
AI could probably help, I think, with some of this stuff if used wisely. And I think you're onto something with like the nonprofit panels or organizations that check things. And it would be one of those things in my mind, like in the anarchist world, if you wanted to have food safety, you'd have like a multitude of companies who do food safety inspection, and they have their own ratings. Like, how trustworthy are they? Um, and you would pay them a fee, some kind of nominal fee, to come in and check your shit out on a regular basis. And they'd give you a little placard or something like that, some kind of sticker that's like, yep, you're good. And so it's like, okay, well, caveat emptor, if you go into a store or go to a restaurant that doesn't have one of those, like, well, we're rolling the dice here. Um, but if you went to a place and they had like the gold standard, right, of inspection services, and they're like, yes, you got 5 stars, you guys are awesome, you feel pretty confident going there. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing's perfect too. This is another thing that we got to understand. Like, there's no perfect solution, there's no one way to do things. And
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I would say that's a great idea. One thing I would add to it as sort of a checks and balances sort of operation
Mm-hmm.
is that it should be 50-50. Like the government pays that company 50%
Mm-hmm.
of their fee, and the corporation using them pays the other 50%. And there is transparency for both the government and the corporation to see what they are charging.
Yeah.
So they know that like either end and the public is able to see that nobody is giving them a little bit extra to
Yeah.
sweeten the pot, you know?
Yep.
So like that's super important. Like anytime you're bringing in a third party, transparency becomes of the utmost importance
Mm-hmm.
for
Which is
because otherwise like that trickles into the overall cost, right? Like that company is shelling out more money. Oh, we better up the price of our product to cover that, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Well, and it also
so,
becomes a black box. This is where,
mhm.
like you say, transparency, it needs to be open source.
Yep.
We Everything should be open source.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
should be like pushing for like every single thing to be open source. Like, you have complete, like, you can see, okay, obviously private information about individuals, sure, you can't necessarily see that, but beyond that, yeah, we should have access to the inner workings of everything, know all of the things that, like, how the cogs have turned and stuff like that, and be participatory in building that system too. That's another thing. Like, we in the modern era, we've gotten so accustomed to just voting, just like, oh, that's all we got to do is just vote, like, and then someone else will take care of it. That's always the way. No, I want to flip that. It's got to be us building that system and making sure that it's done right and it's done for the people. Like, why pass things off to bureaucrats and a bunch of politicians and shit like that, like, to make the decisions? We can make the decisions. We can design it ourselves. We can make it a whole public process, um, and make it open source. I mean, that would maybe go a little bit further towards making things better for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and also,
Um,
I think, like, the stock market should not be a thing.
right.
So what you would do is say corporations are no longer a thing. Like,
That would be
your
nice.
business is your ass is, that's it. That's your business. You want money, venture capital. That's how you do it.
And yeah, and liability should not be so easily, um,
Pawned off on some other people.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I I guess the word I'm looking for is like diluted, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like um because that's really all it's doing. It's like I mean, in the end somebody has to pay something, including you probably, but it's not that much, you know, like and that completely takes away one aspect of the free market. Like the free market isn't fucking all daisies and honey and pots of gold and shit. Like
No, no,
there's
of course not.
risk,
Yep.
like,
Mhm.
like there has
Yeah.
to be the fucking negative end of shit too. Like,
Sure. There's pros and cons, ups and downs, and stuff like
mhm,
that. I would say the captain should go down with the ship. Like,
mm,
if you're in charge of a company and the company is caught doing bad things, like shit should roll uphill.
right.
Like, you, as whoever the commander in chief of Walmart or whatever, no, you got to take the hit. Like, even if it's a bunch of employees or managers doing shitty things, like, no, it's your fault. You're at the helm. You're the captain. So you're the one going down.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it sort of encourages people who are in charge to make good decisions and create a good culture too within the company. Because there's a lot of good companies, even really big companies. There's some really good ones, and then there's some really bad ones, and they
Yeah.
never have to suffer any consequences. Oh, it's like a little teeny tiny fine for like doing some pretty heinous shit. Like,
Yeah.
no, 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 it's gonna be tar and feathering or something. I don't know what, something
This
like
is
that. Just a big ass thing.
some of this is reminding me of a former episode of ours. I think it was season 7 or so, where we kind of started talking about like an internet 2.0
Mm-hmm.
and integrating AI and stuff as it was kind of like a talk about immortality, I think.
Oh
Or
yeah,
maybe I'm blending two episodes together and see this is the
that could
beauty of
be.
our show. Like all these ideas come together to create new ideas and
We
stuff.
have, yeah.
So like as a way to kind of combat some of the like sneaky dark alley backroom handshake bullshit that goes on between corporations and government and stuff. I wonder if there should be some kind of like open source AI data center sort of thing where AI kind of has like Big Brother style even
Mm.
has its hands in everything, including the government, like everything. But it's like kind of kill switch activated. So like if any controversy comes out, all of a sudden this AI is like triggered to just data dump into WikiLeaks everything related to that person. So if you fuck up, if you do something totally against the law that fucks people over, gets people killed, hurt, maimed, sick,
Mm.
whatever, um, all your shit's going public. All of it. And everyone related to anything you've done that was shitty is going down with you. So like, you know,
Yeah, and
you want to
AI.
talk about like just shy of death penalties for fucking up? I think that
Mhm.
would be probably a good compromise.
Well, and I think we need to bring back shaming people
Mm.
for like excommunicating people
Shame,
too.
shame,
Exactly.
shame.
Well,
Like,
and I think you have an interesting idea there. Um, it would need a couple of like, I don't know, some system that sort of checks and double checks things to make sure that this is in fact the case, because public
yeah,
opinion is often wrong. And it's just like, oh, it's a perception thing. So you can't have it just data dump based on like the way people are feeling. It needs to be like a real confirmed something or other of like evil doing. Um, but I, that's an option.
yeah.
Certainly an option.
Because I mean, like in this era of like Epstein cover-ups and shit, like pretty clear evidence, like like logically clear evidence, not legally clear evidence that there's a lot of entitled people doing like I don't know, this is an understatement, but really shitty stuff. Uh, like,
Yeah.
I can't think of a better way to phrase it than really shitty stuff, but it's not enough. Um, like in an era where like that's obviously the case, but we can't just plop open this drain plug and let everything go because it's out of our hands to do
Mhm.
so. We just have to kind of like suffice with the logical knowledge that shady shit is going on
Yeah.
and not really be able to actually do anything about it. And that's fucked up. That's not
Well,
right.
it is, and then it becomes like, oh, it now it goes into conspiracy theory territory,
Hmm.
where like this is going on,
Yeah.
and there's evidence enough to sort of like suggest that there were things happening,
Right.
but like you can't
Like I
confirm
said,
it.
there's logical truth and
Yeah,
then there's legal truth. And it's
yeah,
like, I hate
you
that we're bound to legal truth.
yeah, you can't confirm it, so it's basically just speculation at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing with the UFO stuff too. Like,
Inductive reasoning, I think is
yeah,
probably a better
yeah.
way of phrasing it. But yeah, like it's,
I would like to see a lot more transparency.
yeah.
And I think we need to demand that. Like, that should just be the default state. Like, everything's
Yeah.
transparent. Okay, sure. There are exceptions, right? I don't know. There are spies that you have out in the field. Obviously, you're not going to just like dox them because everybody's got spies. So sure, there's
I
a
mean,
couple of things where you got to keep things kind of secret
I
for
thought
a
about that
couple of
though. Like,
situations.
you know what? Like, okay, like in a system like that, like if that's the case, AI should be able to identify those scenarios and let's say give a 72-hour warning period like confidentially to those individuals. You need to bug out,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then like their assignment is done at that point. And their shit like like becomes public, and then like whoever they were spying on, then they know, but it's too late for them to do anything about it because they're in WitPro, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like WitPro from whoever they were spying on, but not WitPro from whoever they're accountable to back home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that should be taken into account, but we shouldn't like have that sunk cost fallacy like, oh, but we need spies. Like, yeah, okay, like maybe just take the hit and establish new spies and like, oh well, like now we've lost time and valuable information, but
Well, I mean, like
in order to avoid that in the future, let's make sure we aren't fucking up again, like
okay, well, that's a good point.
right? Like free market, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, do the right thing is really
Mhm.
what it comes down to. It like
You
this
have to have responsibilities in order for a free market to actually be free.
this is one, like, I guess, gripe that I have with the U.S. Iran conflict is like they had the perfect opportunity. Iran executed protesters, like thousands of protesters. That would be justified. We could go in and kick ass because we'd be like, hey, those people were protesting and they got killed. Like, I think that would be, most people would be on board with that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, that's punishment for being an asshole, right?
Mm.
Like, but no, we're like, oh, I don't know, Strait of Hormuz and stuff, and who knows? It's all wishy washy. Like, we don't even know why we're doing it, but we're doing it anyway. Like, no, state the case, perform the action, ask for help, and support from people, and I think people would be totally behind that. um
Yeah.
but they're like, I don't know, some nebulous, something about nuclear stuff or whatever, and I don't know, we're gonna keep bombing. um like, okay, well, that's fucking stupid. And that's how government does, though. That's the thing. It's like it isn't limited to like one administration. They're all fucking stupid and they do the same dumb shit over and over and over again, and people keep like supporting it. Ugh,
I
I
know
don't
Billy Joel like technically retired and everything, but I really, really wish he would just as like a swan song do like part two of We Didn't Start the Fire.
that was just yep. When you said Billy Joel, I'm like, oh, we didn't
Like,
start the fire. Yep.
because I mean, how many verses could you do just in the
Oh,
last like 10 years? Like
Jesus Christ. Like, yeah, extended version, like the LP version. Yeah.
we should just do our own cover and it's like a 13-minute long song. Like
It's like Inagata Davida. Oh man. Like everybody thinks, oh, okay, it's done. And then we're like coming in again, like more and more shit. Well, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, we're kind of on like a little bit of a tangent, but talking about China, let's go back to China for a moment, shall we? I I think they're less communist than people think they are.
Mhm.
Like on paper, they're communist, but it's like, well, what even is communism? Like Marxism
But
or something?
I mean,
Like,
on
I
paper,
guess if
they're
you're,
also a republic, right? So,
yeah, but like looking at China as a whole, they're like super duper free market, super duper capitalist, but yet the government is communist and like on paper again.
mm, mm.
So it's like, well, what does that even mean? I mean,
Well,
they're not Marxist. Like that was more Soviet Russia. That's more like I guess North Korea. Um,
well, so like everybody points to Marx and Engels as like the definitive communism or whatever, but like they 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 didn't come up with the idea. Like the idea was kind of old school by the time they modified it, but it originally was actually more geared towards mutual aid as kind of like the core vehicle for bringing about a lot of the stuff, and they moved it more toward a capitalist integration, let's say.
yeah,
Like everything before it was like anti-capitalist mutual aid. Like the profits are the problem. Let's have the community provide services and everything like that.
well, and Marx advocated for like ownership of production by the people, things like that.
Hmm.
Which like so like those individuals who proposed these ideas, they came up with a philosophy and laid it out for people, and people took that um, and sort of made it into their own thing. So like I think there's a difference between what happened in the USSR versus North Korea versus China. Like China, like they almost did it right, I guess, in a sense, in my opinion. They're a little too authoritarian when it comes to speech, for me, but like in every other way, they're more free than the U.S.
Hmm.
So
And going back to what I said earlier, like maybe it was in the Lightning Strikes Twice, actually. Um, the metric of freedom, like there's so many different ways and so many different independent values within freedom that
yeah,
people can weigh quite differently. Like you mentioned, freedom of speech isn't quite such a thing there, but maybe the people there actually get by just fine with the level that they have and don't feel like it is so bad.
Mhm.
Maybe.
It's a
I
culture
mean,
thing.
maybe some of them do
Yeah,
have a
I'm
problem
sure.
with that. It's a very individual. Uh, like it's very going to vary from person to person. Of course, you can't make everyone happy, but
No, of course, but one difference, like China, like you had mentioned earlier, you have freedom of movement,
mhm.
whereas like in North Korea, you don't. So
Right,
you
yeah,
can't leave North Korea, but in China, you could just like move somewhere else.
yeah.
You're like, well, I don't know, I'm going to move over there, and that's
And I feel
perfectly
like that's a
acceptable.
more important freedom than speech, honestly, because like your speech comes with you, you know.
Yeah. Mhm.
If you don't like it and you just want to leave and find a new government, hey, you've still got your speech,
Yeah.
like. But
I
if
think
you're
no,
stuck there
that's
and you can't leave, well,
Mhm.
you're kind of fucked. You're at the whims of the government then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the freedom to move about, the freedom to come and go as you please is I don't know, in my book, probably more important than free speech. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I would agree with that. Yeah. Because like, okay, well, maybe
In a
you're like
Maslow hierarchy sort of sense.
yeah,
Like
yeah. Well, maybe you're like a 2A kind of Chinese person. Well, okay, you could just come to the US and then
hmm
shoot your guns if you want. You can own guns and stuff. Well, actually, you can own guns in China too, so there's that. Um, it's just a bit different than the US. But it yeah, yeah, maybe the freedom of movement is one of the most important things. The ability to be like, yeah, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
I
I think
that
2A is kind of an anomaly in the world, isn't it? Like
uh
this whole idea of like having a right to a device that like a natural inherent right to something that wasn't around when nature was just nature, like before
it,
technology,
so
like
the Second Amendment is built around the concept. So if you look at like the Bill of Rights, they're built around like simple concepts.
yeah, yeah.
The First Amendment is expression
I know it doesn't
and
mention arms like in
belief.
a sense of like guns specifically, right?
No, no,
Yeah.
it could be knives, it could be
Yeah.
anything. I mean, but when that was written, they had machine guns technically. So, but like the Second Amendment is all about self-defense
hmm
and defense of your, I guess, your what we've built
hmm
against oppression.
Right.
Like it's kind of a very complex thing, and against invasion and and the militia and all this stuff. But yeah, it well, there's other countries that have that sort of like the right to self-defense. To me, that's what the Second Amendment means: is the right to
Yeah.
self-defense and the defense of others,
Yeah.
essentially.
I like that phrasing better. Um, because it's more general. And I feel like something like that needs to be very general.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a very general concept, really. Like,
Well, yeah, because
like there's a lot of different ways that could be interpreted and applied,
mhm.
and it really, I feel like it gets pigeonholed into guns. Like,
Yeah, but it should apply to like knives and baseball bats or whatever. It's
and
like,
your fists.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. That
you
you
know,
have a right to self. Because here's the thing: people will look at the here and now and be like, "Oh, the founding fathers couldn't have foreseen machine guns." Well, okay, they actually had them, or like AR-15s or something like that. Well, okay, but what about in 100 years when we don't even use those anymore because we have fucking pulse rifles and lasers?
but here's
Like
the thing.
no
Like,
one's using those.
if you go with the phrasing that you mentioned, like just self-defense and the defense of others,
Mm-hmm.
then that protects the individual against any like lawsuit from damages to performing CPR in the attempt to save someone's life, you know?
That's a
Like a
really smart point right there.
yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
a good Samaritan protection
Mm-hmm.
should actually be should actually fall under the Second Amendment, but the way it's phrased, I wouldn't see that winning in court at all.
No,
You
no.
know?
And this is where, like, okay, if we're gonna start rewriting stuff, we could tweak
Hmm.
that a little to include other things like being a good Samaritan. Well, and you got to figure like, okay, well, this was the first draft. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
like, well, okay, it wasn't, because if you read, like, they did argue and send letters and stuff back and
Yeah.
forth
Yeah.
about like how it should be phrased, should we even have enumerated rights, all this
Right.
stuff. Because like, well, and as it became, as they foresaw, because they're human beings, that like, oh, these are the only rights you have. Everything else is fair game for the government or whatever to mess with. Um, it, so this is my proposition, I guess, is it should be
Here's
conceptual.
here's our new
Oh,
mascot, our
nice.
dachshund Lupinchen.
Oh, nice. Oh, hello. Hmm.
But
I
she's going
think
for a walk now.
yeah.
So.
And so in my mind, it's more like it should have been laid out in terms of concepts, like
Mhm.
the rationale behind those things. Like, we believe in this because of that. And they I mean, they kind of did that, but there's a lot of things where it's like, oh, now they dig into the minutia and like pick at every single word and semicolon and stuff like that. Like, okay, but there are concepts that are broader than that. And yeah, so that I don't know. That's my thought
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. A
Because like,
little digression from
sure,
capitalism,
sure.
but it's a good point worth, like now it'll be archived in our wiki probably. So
Mhm.
like we
Mhm.
can certainly expand on that at another time.
Well,
Uh,
I guess my reason for bringing that up is like, it's important to consider the future.
yeah.
That like, we can't just build things off the here and now. We have to think about the future. And like, so yeah, what happens when firearms don't exist anymore, or they're like old museum things that people collect and occasionally go out and shoot, but most of the people on the street are carrying like blasters and lasers and stuff, that doesn't even fall into the category. Like, seriously, it wouldn't. Like, oh,
Proton
right.
disruptors.
Yeah, yeah, rail guns and stuff. Like, I could carry a rail gun. I wouldn't have to like I could carry it anywhere within the country and nobody could do anything about it. Like, if I had an air gun that had some kind of like nitrogen powered thing that was like more powerful than an actual gun, which those do exist, um, that doesn't count. You're
Yeah.
free to own that. Like, that isn't an actual gun. But well, okay, but it kills people the same, right?
Crossbows, arrows, stuff
Crossbows,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge, deep topic. Um,
Oh yeah.
but like, yeah, I thought that did kind of tie in with the whole free market thing in a way, kind of like how I mentioned, like it's a rights and responsibilities sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
there has to be give and take,
Hmm.
and really like I think
Balance.
yeah, I think any kind of I mean to their credit, the forefathers did actually lay out responsibilities, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I feel like that needs to be kind of the first and foremost, like heading one uh setting on Word, right? Um rather than like an afterthought, or like the part that people generally tune out by the time they get to it. Uh
Well, and this is why I believe everything should be laid out from like human concepts. Like,
yeah.
this is the rationale, and here's the current state of things.
Hmm.
Like, okay, well, we want to be able to protect ourselves. We don't want tyrants. Okay, so currently, these are the things that tie into that. We want to be able to express ourselves and practice our religion unobstructed. There should be a free press, things like that. But then, oh, well, there's no press anymore because, well, who buys a newspaper? Um, it's all on the internet. So is that free? So it should be able to like adapt to the future is kind of my thinking.
Right.
Like, and
Well,
that's
that's
why you outline things as concepts. And it's the free market of ideas, really.
and that's why I like I've recently discovered Substack. I know it's kind of old hack now, but like that's kind of what I appreciate about it is it is really a free market of journalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not uh, obfuscated or promoted by some kind of algorithm
Mm-hmm.
in the social media sense of things.
Yeah.
Like social media really is like it is media and journalism, but it's all like more like National Enquirer, where whereas Substack is more like, you're like your Associated Press or something, like
I'd say Substack is more like zines,
yeah,
like
yeah,
local produced small publications that are
mhm,
distributed by hand, copied on photocopiers and stuff like that.
yeah,
Um, but definitely, yeah, you go to like any other social media, and well, most other social media, and yeah, it's like very curated,
hmm.
and not to the
And I
people's.
mean, LinkedIn is like Wall Street Journal, like it's like nothing but work stuff and like economy stuff and like like motivational posters and shit, like
I should create a LinkedIn profile and just have demotivational stuff posted on my profile.
we should,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. Uh, It well, and see, this is the thing. See, and I knew this going back to China. I knew this would happen. I mean, like the days of the Maoist purges and everything, long gone. Well, okay, there's a certain subsect of people who are still oppressed there. Um, I won't say it, but because just
Taiwan?
in case, huh?
Taiwan?
Well, no, not Taiwan. The
Hmong?
Uyghurs, the
Oh,
Uyghurs.
oh.
Yeah. Um,
I think it's pronounced Wiggers, but
that's too close.
oh.
um, but like I knew this would happen when Hong Kong was returned back to China in, I think it was the year 2000. In the year 2000. Um, oh wait, hold on a second. In the year 2000. um, it like because
That was
China was.
exceptionally bright.
I know. I realized they had it up on high. But I knew because Hong Kong was very like business friendly, very flourishing economically, and China was not doing so good. And then they got a hold of Hong Kong, and I knew exactly what would happen. The government would be like, okay, let's not mess this up. They're making a shit ton of money. Um, and then they took a look at it and they're like, well, what if we just did this with the whole country? And then they did it, and then now they're kicking ass.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um. So like,
So they just basically assimilated
yeah,
a different system
like the
into
Borg.
the
Yeah.
communists. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, actually, that brings up a good point. It just triggered a memory. I was like, oh, that would make a good lightning strikes twice, but I never wrote it down and I forgot it until just now. So I might as well just bring it up now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would the Borg actually be such a bad thing? Like the hive mind sort of thing. Like,
I mean, well, the idea, see, the hive mind side I don't like, but the idea of it going out and exploring and finding other species and seeing what they're doing and like assimilating them and what they do. It's like, well, it's like the Romans, actually. I mean, really, it is. The Borg are
yeah.
the Romans. Um,
I mean, their
and you get better.
methodology by like taking by force the people and then adding them to the hive mind in order to get all that stuff, that's fucked up, of course.
Mm.
But like assimilating in a sense of like cultural appropriation, or
Yeah, no, look,
that's the buzzword, but really it's more like a melting pot sort of thing.
sure.
Like,
Well, it's basically the US has done that.
yeah,
Like all the people who have come here from around the globe, like they've contributed a little bit of something.
but
Uh, and
like all a piece of that is what we do here on the show. Like it's
yeah.
conversation, it's like talking about various ideas and plucking the good stuff from every where you find it and putting
Mm-hmm.
it together, right? Like, so in a way, that's kind of what the Borg are doing, right? Like, of course, they're not like assimilating everything and all of a sudden they've got like social anxiety or something. Like they leave the bad shit out to the side, right? Like, we are Borg. It
they
would be really
the,
nice if you would let us take over your culture.
the Borg come to Earth and like assimilate,
Assimilate the autists. Like,
yeah, Gen Z and stuff, and
yeah.
they're like,
Now they're useless. They're like totally
yeah,
limp dicked.
yeah,
Like
exactly. They're like all just gaming all day long.
we are the Borg. Wait, let me translate that. Wir sind die Borg. Uh,
Yeah, that would be a funny like video to do of them coming to a planet of like hyper depressed people.
I
So
mean, I think there was a gag video where they like come across the Pac-Leds and they're like, "Oh yeah, never mind. We're gonna go now."
Mhm. Yeah. Oh man.
We find things that make us go. Like,
Oh man. That's
good old
funny.
Star Trek.
Star
Um,
Trek's the best.
I mean, okay, so back when we would have Randy on quite often, kitchen sink rest his soul. Uh, I think there was a point where we talked about the different Star Trek aliens as being sort of like allegorical
Mhm.
to different races on Earth, right?
Yeah.
Who would the Chinese be in Star Trek Aliens, though?
Uh it's a good question. I
Like we
mean,
didn't really,
the Romulans, maybe? Maybe?
hmm, maybe.
I
And you
mean,
know what?
that's
Like
just what popped into my head.
that actually, yeah, that makes sense because like in the grand scheme of Star Trek, like they're typically seen as like enemies and the way they do things isn't quite right, but they also have like moments of honor and working together and stuff
Yeah.
like that does kind of parallel like reality. I
Hmm.
can see that, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Chinese and the Romulans would. Be very, yeah.
I mean, I actually liked how they handled Romulans in Star Trek Picard, with it being kind of like a redemption, um, sort of a, Picard like bridged the gap, or extended the olive leaf, let's say.
Mhm.
And
Well, you'll remember in um, an episode of TNG, the someday,
yeah,
someday
yeah.
episode. Yeah.
hmm that would, yeah. Someone should make a really good compilation of TNG and Star Trek Picard stuff from the
Mhm.
like the Romulan perspective, like how that all ended up playing out. And I know they also tied in like the whole um, uh, J.J. Abrams universe timeline with that too, like with
Mhm.
Romulus being destroyed and everything. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, season 1 and 2 were kind of meh. Season 3, though,
yeah,
kick ass.
yeah.
Holy shit.
But you got to take it as a whole, like
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
because all that Romulan stuff was mostly in earlier seasons, I
season
think.
1, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and
I don't know
that was
why
good stuff, I
they.
think.
I don't know why they couldn't just go to other planets that are nearby. Why they had to come all the way to the Federation, but whatever. It didn't make sense to me. Like, don't you have other planets? I mean, there's a whole fucking
I think there was social commentary there in usual Star Trek fashion on refugees
yeah, yeah, of
and
course,
and
of course,
trying
100%. That's what it was about.
yeah.
But like, maybe they could have done it a little bit differently to maybe say it's not the Federation, it's some other adjacent species that doesn't want the Romulans that are in that star space or whatever. That
Yeah.
might have been actually a kind of interesting story. I don't know.
Huh. Hmm.
Well, and you know, going back to China, it's like there's a lot of people around the world. There's a lot of people in the U.S. that are adversarial to China, and it's like, yeah, they're also living on spaceship Earth too. Like we everybody in the US loves ordering shit off of Wish and Timu. And China is more than happy to supply that stuff. So, well, can't we all get along? Like, what? Why do we gotta like be at each other's throats over stuff?
I mean, there is the angle that we haven't touched on with regards to wages in China, right? Like
Yeah.
the let's call it like slave labor, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I mean here's the thing, like I don't see much point in drawing a line between indentured servitude and slavery because like with the current state of the economy, that line is far too blurry to,
Yeah, I
to
agree. I agree in
yeah.
that regard. Yeah.
Um, like there's clearly a minimum amount that people need in order to survive in whichever geographical location they reside in, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that much in a post-scarce society, in a fabricated scarcity, post-scarce society,
Mm-hmm.
it should be pretty clear and evident that like people need that to survive. And if doing that is not compatible with your business model probably should not exist. And that
Well, and
circles back to the question of the free market,
that's the
right?
free
Like,
market. Yeah, exactly. Like if you can't pay your well, we can go back to Henry Ford. his one of his sort of tenets, I guess, of his business model was like the people who work here building the Model T should be able to afford to buy a Model T. Henry Ford actually, um, he's the reason there's 8-hour work days and
Mm.
40-hour work weeks and stuff. Um, it it began there. It wasn't the government. It was
Did he help
actually the
establish
free
unions
market
or
that did
something?
that, huh?
Did he help establish unions or something?
No, no, no. Just that was the choice. Like, oh,
Mm.
everybody works this amount, that kind of thing. Here's how we do it. And then, we're gonna industrialize and assembly line everything. But it, that the idea that if you're manufacturing something, you should be able to afford to buy it is kind of important in my opinion.
Mhm.
I think like, oh, we're making cars. Everybody who is sitting here making cars ought to be able to buy one of these cars. Okay,
Right.
yeah, maybe if you're doing some kind of bespoke something or other, some hypercar or whatever. Yeah, all right. Well, I mean, these things cost like $1 million to make. Okay, we can't really pay everybody that much. But it it's an interesting concept.
Yeah. I mean, well, okay, that brings up a good thought experiment too, because like, okay, if you're bothering to make that shit and you still can't afford to pay your people a wage that would allow them to afford to buy it, should you even be making it? Like, or or
If,
should that kind of sit on a shelf until like it becomes more feasible
well,
economically?
I guess it comes down to like the free travel thing. So if you're free to come and go, like, oh, I could just quit and go work to for your competitor,
Right.
then like, okay, I think that's fair. Because then the competitor could be like, well, hey, you come work for us, we'll give you a little bit more moolah.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's in the interest of the like, because there's in industry and all
Right.
places there's like tribal knowledge and stuff. So if you hemorrhage employees,
Yeah.
that you'll go out of business very
Well,
fucking fast.
and that is why I think contracts are bullshit. Like I would like to see contracts go away because stuff like NDAs and signing away intellectual property and things like that kind of prevent you from having that freedom of movement. They kind of prevent you from being like, you know what? I'm going to take my brilliance where it's appreciated and compensated accordingly. And then they'd be like, yeah, but all the ideas you gave us here now belong to us. So if you bring them up over there, we're going to sue the shit out of you. And
Well,
it's like,
okay, so in the anarchist world, contracts are how you do things. Um, so I think it's important that people are,
contracts are how you screw people over, though.
well, it can be, but it's also how you save your ass. Like you cover your ass because then you can take the contract to an arbiter, to like a judge or something, and they can look at it and be like, oh yeah, yeah, this company's being a dick. No, you're fined. Um, that kind of
Mm.
thing. Because otherwise, what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, like contracts are everything in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is done with a fucking contract. Like almost every job, contract, contract,
Yeah,
contract, contract.
I think
And
we
and it's
need to.
horribly restrictive. There's no free market in a contract at all.
Well, I mean, there is in the deciding because here's the thing: people need to like we need to kind of modify the way that we conduct ourselves with contracts,
Yeah.
and also the knowledge base of the people signing contracts, um, particularly like employees or whatnot, in that you're free to actually cross things out and make changes.
Well, you should be. You should
Yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah. You
That
should.
is not the case. Um, like if a company or an employer or whatever is just like, oh, if you don't accept the contract the way it is, you just don't get the job. Like that's not really fair. That's not a negotiation.
No, and
So
it should be a
so and that
negotiation.
is the
That's
way it is. You know,
yeah.
like you can't like especially with like the internet and everything, like contracts, you can't modify them.
No,
All these contracts on the
no,
internet,
and
impossible to modify.
and
Impossible.
they're like 10,000 pages long.
Yeah.
So it's like, really, are you going to read
That's
that?
why I say get the fuck rid of contracts. Like
Well,
if
okay,
we're
no,
not
no.
going to do it correctly, let's not do it at all because it's
Contracts
just
ought to
screwing
be
us over.
contracts ought to be like legislation. It should be very simple and concise. If it
Hmm.
can't fit on one page, and no, I'm not talking like microfiche or something like that, where it's like super duper tiny, like legible, readable text, then like you can have multiple contact contracts too.
Right.
So you have a contract for this thing and that thing, and you agree. It's like easy to read. It takes you like 5 minutes to look over the page and be like, yeah, that seems fair. And you agree to it. Like that's how it should be. Like this idea of like, oh, we're gonna couch all of this in legalese so nobody can fucking comprehend it. And then like, oh, check all you get is a checkbox. I agree to the terms of service. Like,
Right.
no, no, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Um, it ought to be simple. And it's the whole like goes back to my 10-year-old test. Like legislation ought to be understandable, comprehensible by a panel of 10-year-olds. And if not, well, okay, back to the drawing board. Back you
Mm.
go. Start over. Make something that those 10-year-olds can understand because we've talked about it, like ignorance of the law is no excuse, that saying and all that stuff. And it's like, how are you going to know? Like,
Right.
they have whole law libraries. And it's like, oh, there's like law dictionaries too.
And
Like, oh,
corporations have the uh, capacity to have teams of lawyers and stuff. So if you
yeah.
even try to exercise your rights or contest the fairness of a contract, you have zero chance.
Mm-hmm.
Zero chance. Because all they have to do is just give themselves some wimpy little, like, like, oh, well, we'll just try to fix things by doing like the bare minimum, and that gives us every right to say that we've upheld our end of the contract or whatever. And it's it's basically just unending layers of protection from having to be fair to
Yeah. Well,
the little guy.
and
Like
the
that's
whole
all
like
contracts are.
legalese thing, it's intentionally framed with ambiguity.
Hmm.
So they can wiggle around and be like, oh, well, but it, it it's kind of like where I work. I work in IT for a company. I won't say what company, but th- there was a time where they decided, oh, you guys are going to be, you know, you're not going to be hourly, you're going to be salary now, and so they paid us a salary, and then we got a bunch of overtime. We had to work overtime because, like, well, I guess if you're
Of course.
salary, even though like technically salary people in the US can earn overtime, they didn't pay us that.
It never happens.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
total
okay.
bullshit.
So by the way, they did pay us ultimately. We fucking won. As always, I'm an ass kicker, all right? Um, I'll find a way. But so they didn't want to pay overtime. And when we challenged it, because it's like, oh, well, if you work in IT and you do programming and coding or whatnot and managing servers or something, I guess, you don't get overtime. which, like, okay, in that exact confined context makes sense. But we didn't do that. We were like field technicians. Like, we're out there replacing hardware and shit. Um, and when we challenged it, HR was like, "Oh, but you do occasionally do some coding and stuff." And it's like, well, no, like we, and they're like, but coding is this and that, and it's like, no, actually, it isn't. Um, it, we're just logging into computers and changing settings. That's not coding. We're not employed as coders. We're not employed. We can't delegate, because that's actually one of the big things for like exempt overtime for salary, is that you can delegate. And
Uh,
we were the end of the chain. We were tier 3 tech support. So like we couldn't delegate. So we, well, there was a
uh,
little bit of a battle, but we got paid back pay,
wow.
because they were very afraid of a lawsuit, which would have crushed
Th-
the company.
That's good. And like it's sad that like how many instances of that sort of thing are happening uncontested? People
Probably
getting
very, very often, I would
yeah,
imagine.
people getting screwed over.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would not uh I would not choose to work a salaried job ever again.
No.
Like that is there's nothing fair about that. Like even in the coding aspect, like if that's what the job entails, then um, just create more jobs
Yeah.
or increase the pay to something much more fair. Or let's say decrease it, and
Mm-hmm.
then like increase the hours, and then if people don't want to work those fucking hours, well, maybe you have an unstable model for a job.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, and
if the job can't be done in a way that is fairly compensated, the job clearly doesn't need to be done, you know?
well, and I want to leave a little bit of wiggle room for like kind of ad hoc sort of stuff, um, where you just sort of work a little bit here, a little bit there. You can kind of pick and choose your hours, because the employer's like, well, it doesn't really matter as long as it gets done. Like, I think that should be a thing, because flexibility is another factor. It's like, you know, there's only so much time that you have on this planet.
Right.
So like, manage that. Like, if you want to have some downtime and only work like 20 hours a week doing a thing, um
I
then
will say I did have one salaried job where I worked less than 40 hours quite often,
mm,
um, which is also a possibility. Um, but it's exceedingly rare that you come across that.
yeah.
And I was probably just lucky or very efficient in how I worked or whatever, but
Mhm.
um, that's an exception to the rule, basically. So,
Yeah, well, and I take issue with the whole, like, if there's time to lean, there's time to clean sort of thing. Or what is it? If there's time to
for
smoke, we're going broke,
yep.
which we coined, I believe. Um, I think that's dumb. It's like we should be more task oriented rather than
Mhm.
time oriented. Now, obviously, if you're like, I don't know, somebody like a dispatcher for 911 or something, or like a cashier at a store, it's like, well, yeah, somebody's got to be there for
Right.
when the people come, or the thing happens or whatever. That makes sense. So you pay them by the hour, but we should just be like, all right, we'll pay you by the task, by the bushel. How many berries did you pick? Um, like, I'd like to see more of that, I think.
That certainly makes more sense because like the busier you are, the more money you're bringing in,
Yeah.
and the slower you are, the less money you're bringing in. So the less money you could be putting out for a job like that, right?
Hmm.
So that actually is more fair. Um,
Well, yeah,
but
like
it's harder to depend on.
it
So
is.
it's also
It's
less
it's
attractive as a,
scary for some people because like you never know how much you're gonna make. But like I'll tell you what, it was nice when I did 1099 work for the computer company that I used to work for and I quit. And then I came back and they're like, oh, good, we need somebody. And I'm like, all right, but I'm going to be a 1099 employee. And it was great. I would like show up. And if there was nothing, I would just go home and like play Duke Nukem and shit. Um, it, but then if there was stuff, it's like, oh, there's an agreed upon percentage of every ticket that I get paid. It was super cool because it was flexible. And it's like I didn't have to come into work, but I just came into work because it's like, well, not only did I like the people I worked with, but also it's like, well, making some money is kind of nice if there is work to be had. But it was like mutually beneficial. It like a symbiotic sort of thing. Like the company didn't have to pay me to just sit there and wait. But like when I did have to do something, I made more than I would have otherwise if I was just sitting there and waiting. Um,
there's a there's a concept here in Germany that I think you would appreciate that isn't something in the US. It's called a mini job,
hmm,
where you can make like 600, like roughly 600 euros a month,
mm-hmm,
um, at whatever rate it is per hour. That's however many hours you work during the month or whatever.
mm-hmm.
Um, very minimal, and it's tax free.
Nice.
Like you don't have to pay any tax on it.
That
At like
I like that.
there's like a minimal amount of tax that your employer pays for like accident insurance and stuff, and a little bit into your pension, just
Mm-hmm,
a tiny little bit. Other than that, like you don't get like you have to pay for your own health insurance and stuff. But if you have like a passive income, um, something like that is great. You know, you get
mm-hmm.
tax free extra 600 a month, you know, like a
That's
little bit of work or,
yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's
and like
great.
I think something like that would go a long fucking way in the US. Like, can
Yeah.
you imagine like, like creating something like that that is there for immigrant workers or something,
Yeah.
like okay, like yeah, this work doesn't pay so much, but because you're undocumented or whatever, like this is the most you can work. Yeah, so like ahead of time, they know I'm not going to be able to make more than this, but as long as I'm doing this, I'm okay to be there.
Yeah.
So why not introduce something like that as like an interim for doing things the legal way? Like you can make a little bit of money here, tax free, like you don't need a social security number, blah, blah, blah. Like you just do this amount of work for this amount of time, get this little chunk, but it goes a long way back home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not do something like that? Like,
Yeah, I mean
I
that
know that's way off from China and everything, but like,
well, not really. But it's something to consider.
mhm.
And this is the thing. It's like all too often we get into these either or sort of mindsets of like it's got to be this way or that way, and it's like, well, why can't we craft something that's a little more clever than that?
Yeah,
Why does it have to be only one thing or another? I mean, we could implement the fair tax too. Um,
right.
we've talked about that a couple of times. Like that actually would kind of solve all those problems all at once. Um,
Well, I even
Also, like cutting expenditures. Like, if we, oh, there's a fire truck coming through here, so you might hear it.
I
Um,
do, yeah.
if we cut the military budget in half, which would still, we would, like, the US would still be top dog, and diverted some of that money. Well, we could like slice some of it off, but still divert some of that money to doing other stuff, like humanitarian things and stuff like
Mm,
that. Like, I love the military, but I also love humans.
yeah.
I know I'm an alien, but I love humans, and I want to see things be the best they could be. And
I I, I think I made a Substack post about this that maybe I could link people to or something, but I did actually, after we revisited the fair tax, I ran a couple of different scenarios through AI, and it would give me some feedback, and I would kind of adjust things, and it was basically doing all the difficult math for me on the back end. But I actually came up with a kind of a hybrid system using the idea of the fair tax and the existing income tax, and I think even sprinkling in a little bit of like tariffs and stuff like that, if I remember correctly. Basically, like taking a little bit of all these different systems and having different windows of opportunity for them to actually act rather than just having them be broad strokes like everybody pays into the fair tax or everybody pays into income tax, everybody pays tariffs. It was more tailored, right? So the beauty of maintaining an income tax system is that you can create systems where certain people of certain means are subject to a fair tax system, while certain people of lesser means are exempt from it, so that they aren't penalized by just consuming in order to survive. And I feel like that's kind of brilliant, and it's something that we could actually only realize with the technology that we have today, like AI and stuff like that. But using the existing income tax system to see what kind of burdens people can handle as far as sales tax goes, like exempting people from having to pay into a fair tax system based on their income would actually, I don't know, like buttress the lower and middle classes as far as like their buying power, and it also creates a lot more income opportunities for the government. So like a hybrid system, fair tax, income tax, even some tariffs
mhm.
in this model that I came up with AI, like would increase the overall income without burdening anybody. Like it's not making the ultra rich much less rich. It's not making the poor people more poor, like it's so like why not move toward a system that is like smarter now that we have the capability to do such a thing,
Well, and that's something I firmly believe in, is like, we have the technology, we should be using it,
Right.
to like smart technology to sort of fix things and improve things. And it all should be kind of, we should be coming at it from an engineering angle. Like, okay, maybe we don't exactly know what to do right now, but we're going to go in that direction. Um, And we have to have a direction, because currently it's like, oh, well, we just tax people and then we spend and then we
Yeah.
vote. Like, well, okay, but I'm not seeing a lot of improvement.
Yeah.
Also, like, fixing inflation would go a long way, because, like, in a probably a handful of years, wages would catch up, if we could rein in that inflation. Because, well, the it, I mean, it's kind of out of hand. Like,
It's
your
super out of
buying
hand.
power just keeps going down. Wouldn't you want it to go up? So, like, oh, if I save money over the course of 30 years, I'll have enough money to do a thing. Yeah, but by the time 30 years goes by, like, that money isn't worth dog shit. Like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So, like, why don't we, like, it's a low hanging fruit. Just fix inflation. Let's go back to the gold standard. Simple as that.
I mean, that's one way, but
Or some standard that doesn't fluctuate that much.
yeah. Like I still think like we should again be leveraging technology and of course maintaining an open source transparency
That's key.
aspect
Yeah,
of it
that's
uh,
absolutely key.
in a fashion that takes the control of money away from government and
Mm-hmm.
places it in the hands of the
Well, from
people of Earth.
the
Like
corporatocracy is the key too, because, like, this
no,
big,
any government, like
yeah. Oh,
any
good point.
government
Yeah.
having control of currency is like having a say in it. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
But having total control over it creates conflict of interest.
Yep.
Um, and up until the technology made it so that there could be another way, obviously we just had to do it that way, right? But now
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to do it that way. Like there are
True.
other
Yeah.
avenues to go.
There are. Yeah. I mean, the fact that the Federal Reserve is tasked with a, like, 2% inflation rate tells you something. That, I mean,
Yeah.
that ought to make any person angry.
By the
Like,
way, I just put in the live chat the link to the Substack post that I
oh
was
yeah,
talking about with the tax idea and stuff, so people can kind of peruse that at
nice.
their whim.
Well, because, stability is really important, I think, for, like, people trying to make a living, trying to live their lives and raise a family, buy a house, whatever they're doing. Um, like, you can't have things going up and down like a bunch of rabbits in mating season. Uh, like,
Red
it
dwarf.
needs, yep, it has to be stable, and it isn't. Like, fiat currency, I guess maybe that was like a in between sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, we've got crypto now. I mean, that isn't exactly stable, but then people are
Yeah,
trading crypto for fiat currencies, and so
it
it's all over the map.
inextricably tied together, so it's
Yeah.
effectively the same thing. Like I see
I,
only the same problems popping up if we go
yeah.
with crypto. Like it has to be its own thing. It
Yeah.
has to be completely detached from the shit that we like the bottle that we live in now. We think of everything in terms of what's in this bottle, and we need to hop the fuck out into the next bottle.
Hmm.
Like, just completely disconnect
Well, so
from.
what if, instead, because one of the problems with the gold standard is stuff like the gold rush, where
Mhm.
all of a sudden we found more gold. So it's
Right.
like, oh, supply and demand. There's like way more supply all of a sudden. So what if we just said, all right, we're going to pick a standard and that'll be it. There's only like so many dollars or whatever it is out there. That's it. There no more. You can't make any more. Like if you destroy stuff, you have to like make an equivalent quantity or something like that. So that way it's stable.
Hmm.
And you can't just like, oh, we're gonna move a decimal place in an accounting chart because that's what they do essentially.
Huh.
So
Yeah, I
whatever
don't know what that would be like.
it could
Would
be
it be
anything.
astronomical? Would it be like however many stars there are is however many ducats we have? Like,
That's like going into like metric of like, what is the kilogram? Uh
but I
that's
mean, that does change over time, technically,
yeah,
but
yeah. But
it
if we just
also has
said,
a
all
lot to
right,
do with our capability of measuring. So,
well,
like,
if we just
it's
said, okay,
imperfect.
we only have, I don't know, a, $1 trillion. That's it. That's
Mhm.
all that can ever be in circulation in the US. Well, that would fix a lot of the issues real fucking fast.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you have to we have a department whose sole purpose is to maintain that. That's
I mean,
we reconfigure the Federal Reserve so that instead of like advocating for inflation, they're like, well, we have to maintain this $1 trillion
right.
forever. Like you can never have more than $1 trillion. You can have a little bit less because actually that's good for the people, but you can't have more.
Yeah. I I feel like the larger issue isn't what system to move to, but rather what is fair in the uh, conversion from this system to that.
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah, but then you're dealing with like other countries and how much they want to trade their things for our things. But at least we can make our stuff stable. That's the key, to make it stable so it doesn't go up, it doesn't go well, and it could go down a little bit, but like okay, there's this exact amount of whatever there is in circulation, because wages will catch up, and then everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, I'm making enough money. Yeah, I could be making more. It could be better, it could be worse. So I had to throw in that. Um, but it isn't bad. But right now we're chasing the rainbow. This is the thing. Inflation is outpacing wages. So we have to stop that so that that doesn't like okay, well there it is. Like it's a fixed number, whatever it is, and whatever currency we decide on. But there's exactly this number of these things. Um, and we don't make more because, well, if you want to make more,
I mean, there's also the angle of, and I know this rubs you the wrong way, but like, CEOs, just like politicians, determining their own pay. Of course, they give themselves way the fuck more raises than the bottom end of, like all their lowly workers.
yeah,
So
and
that
that
outpaces the increase in wage on the bottom end of the corporations and stuff too. So,
well, I understand that, and like I get where you're coming from. Um,
I mean, that's
but
a math problem.
it
It's
wouldn't matter at the end of the day if the dollar or whatever was stable. Like if it did not change, like if it was fixed,
I mean,
like
that's a problem that won't go away no matter what you do with whether you're printing more money or not printing more money, taking more at the top than giving to the people that are actually supporting your infrastructure.
Well,
Like that's just dumb.
again,
Like
I get where you're coming from. I understand that, and I like there's a
like
certain
that's engineering faux pas,
there's a
really. Like
certain part of me that does agree with that, but what matters more is your buying power remaining stable over time. That like your wages and your costs are equivalent. Like everything remains stable. It doesn't like, oh, I'm not always behind because costs keep going up and like my wages don't like if we just had a finite amount of currency out there, like okay, whatever it is, pick a number, $1 trillion, 2 trillion, 10 trillion, something like that, then give it a couple years and it'll stabilize and like oh yeah okay you'd be able to because it used to be that way when we had the gold standard it like saving
okay,
money was actually a good idea back then and
I
then we got
don't
rid of the gold standard and well now we're all fucked.
I don't often remember movie plots for very long.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, I haven't watched Waterworld in probably 30 years.
Oh,
But what I remember distinctly from that is that there were people who would hoard oxygen in jars, right?
mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it was just sitting
Also
there in a jar.
spaceballs also touched on that too
Yeah,
so
it was just sitting there in a jar, right?
mm-hmm.
And like just doing nothing, right? And of course they can only breathe as much as they needed to breathe, right? But they would just have the fucking air in a jar, right? Like if there's only so much of something, how is it not a bad thing if people are hoarding it unnecessarily when other people are in need of it?
Well
I
okay so
cannot fathom the
here's
logical fallacy that is blinding someone to the fact that that is a bad thing.
so here's the thing, it's supply and demand. So if people hoard things, let's say oxygen bottles, okay? There's like only 1,000 oxygen bottles, and somebody is hoarding them. Well, the few that remain are worth even more. So you end up with deflation at that point. So if somebody, which by the way, no millionaire or billionaire in their right mind would hoard money. They invest it so it circulates. But if they did, let's say it was like Scrooge McDuck with a money bin. Well, all of a sudden, the little bit of money you have is worth way more now. All of a sudden, so they're actually helping you if they're hoarding stuff. It like it's it's a brilliant scheme. I think it would work.
The money itself doesn't become more valuable by being hoarded,
No, well, you're just saying they're hoarding
right?
it, so there's less to go around. And if there's less to go around, it's worth more. And it's called
But
deflation.
mm,
So you have more buying power because there's
wait,
less of
how
it.
is something worth more deflating? That doesn't
Because
even
there's
make
less of
sense.
it to go around. There's less
So,
money.
okay, wait. Inflation raises the price of something. Deflation lowers the price of something.
Decreases. Yeah.
So, if you hoard something and there's less of it, you're saying that lowers the price of it because there's less of it?
Yes.
Does not compute.
No, it I understand. I know it's complicated, but like the
I mean, like
buying the your
if it were
buying
a
power.
thing, detached from the money, yes, but if you're hoarding the money, the value of the money does not go, especially if you fix it at $1 trillion, right? Like
Yeah.
the value of it is static then. Like supply and demand actually
Well,
loses any power over it, right?
well, no. If there's less of it in circulation, it's worth more. Like you can get more with that stuff.
But then that's
So
inflation.
that's deflation.
Did somebody turn over 2 pages at once?
Inflation is more in circulation.
Hmm.
So think of it like, let's say we live on an island and we trade shells. Okay, there's these little shells that we collect on the beach, um, and at first there's a whole bunch of them. So they're not really that. They don't. They're not worth that much because, like, well, you could just walk on the beach, and you could find them. But then eventually, people pick enough of them up that there's hardly any left. So now let's say somebody's hoarding it. Let's say somebody takes all the shells and they put them in their hut. Okay. They don't want to share them with anybody else. They're a Scrooge. Okay, fine. But now the few shells that are left that you want, when you find a shell, it's like, holy shit, that's like people are willing to trade like like 50 coconuts for one shell. That's a big deal because before it would take 50 shells per coconut. Like
You're just shifting the problem from one,
well, no,
like
it's fixing that hoarding issue is my point. Is like deflation is what we want. I want to be able to put $100 in the bank and be able to get $200 of buying power 10 years from now, essentially. That's what happens with deflation. Inflation is the inverse of that, where you put $100 in and you get $10 out 10 years from now.
hmm. But that means that people that are hoarding $10 million
Mm-hmm.
are still coming out way the fuck ahead because
Who
that's
cares? Who cares? I don't care about them. I care about me. I care about my life, my neighbors. I don't give a shit what this asshole over here is doing. Like, whatever. All right, fine. You've got a bunch of
yeah,
shells or coins or
I think you're still
ducats or
thinking in
whatever.
terms of the fiat currency though, where like
No, no, it's a supply and
this
demand thing.
it
I'm
is a
saying
supply and
we
demand.
fix
Yeah.
this so that there's no way to make more of that thing without some kind of extreme circumstance.
I think those are the kinds of systems where like economies collapse very quickly. Like all of a sudden like bread is like 1 million whatever,
That's
you
called
know.
hyperinflation, yeah. And that is when you have a fiat currency and the government prints way more, because like it happened in Germany after World War One, where like they just printed a bunch of money, and yeah, like a wheelbarrow of 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 money would get you like a loaf of bread. So you want that not to happen. You kind of want
Hmm.
the opposite. Like, I mean, it depends on whether you want to be in control and let the corporations rule everything, or you want the people to be
Yeah. It's
in
just when you
a
have a
good state.
finite resource and a good chunk of that finite resource, right, is swallowed up by a very few, the little bits that are left, like I don't know how a better way of explaining this, but when you've got like billions of people or hundreds of millions of people even, and there's not even enough to go around, let's say, for everybody to have something,
Yeah.
you have a problem there. Like
Well,
that becomes a problem. Like the
that
scarcity,
does, but
the hoarding and the scarcity
but do
becomes
you
a
not
huge
do
problem
you not
because like
see like what I'm talking about with the shell allegory. How
Well, are you
this
talking about shells being paid for with shells or
no, traded. It's a trade
well,
item.
exactly. That's the
So are
problem.
dollars.
Like
So is every other
we're
currency.
talking about hoarding money, not shells
Yeah.
that you can use coconuts to
Hoarding
buy.
when you okay.
You can't be
Here's the
like,
thing.
"Oh, I want your
When
money. I'm going to give you
uh,
some coconuts." Like you'd be
okay,
like, "Fuck your coconuts. I can pick a coconut off a tree."
so
You know?
well, I all right. Well, I mean, I'm just saying that, but like it could be anything, anything anybody has to do some work for. But the point is, when you have a finite line, if people hoard stuff, it actually makes the people with less better off because there's less of them to go around. Therefore, they're more scarce. Therefore, they're more valuable, and you can trade. You get more buying power out of it.
That is demonstrably not true, though,
How? How is it demonstrably not true?
because that's effectively what we see now. What's driving inflation now? Like,
The tulip craze, the beanie baby thing. Like, I mean, I could go on and
like
on and on and on.
products are irrespective of
No,
hoarding.
money is a
Like,
product. So keep that in mind.
money is the currency.
Yeah, it's also a product.
Okay, define that a little bit better.
Well, I mean, it's a medium of exchange for products.
Okay,
So,
but
or services too, obviously. Like, it's like, hey, would you mow my lawn? I'll give you how many shells or whatever. I'm just going to use shells from now on.
it's not a product though, because a product is something that has its own inherent value.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but I mean,
Like
it still follows the same process. It's human psychology.
like by definition, I mean like you can't say like, oh, you're I don't know, like I don't know Beanie Babies at all. Like your Transformer Beanie Baby is so cool. I'm gonna give you two identical Transformer Beanie Babies to have your particular Transformer Beanie Baby. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make any sense to
I,
treat
I
money as a product because you're it's tautological is what I'm trying to
yeah.
say. Like
Well, yeah. Well, but I mean, there's a point to what I'm saying there. That a perspective shift is what's important. Is looking at things from a different angle. In that,
I mean,
well,
there's
and
no
we've
scenario
talked.
where hoarding something actually helps other people. Like keeping
Yeah, it does.
things to yourself doesn't help other
Okay,
people.
okay. Well, let's go with this. Let's go with this. Let's go with the Beanie Baby one.
That's a
Let's
product of
say
brainwashing, if
there's
anything.
no, not at all. Um, uh, let's go with the Beanie Baby angle. There's like 100,000 of particular, I don't know, a duck Beanie Baby being made, um, and some guy, whoever it is, goes and buys 999,000 of them. So buys basically all of them up. Okay, hoards them. How much is that last Beanie Baby worth?
Well, going with your earlier scenario, if we're buying it with other Beanie Babies, like identical Beanie Babies,
No, we're
because
going with
like
shells.
if the money is the product and the money is also what we value things with,
But
right?
because it could be anything, honestly, it could be
No,
whatever
but
you
like my
choose.
point is if the unit
Okay,
with
then
which
let's.
you buy things is also the unit by which you're
All
valuing.
right, fine. Let's cut that off. Let's go with Saturn barter. You trade. So there's one of these Beanie Babies left on planet Earth because some asshole has like shoved them all in a silo in his farm. So there's only one left. but like, is that worth more
The
than it
medium
was
of trade is
before,
still
or
different from the product.
is it worth more than it was before that guy bought all that stuff, or is it worth less?
Is it worth more in Beanie Babies or is it worth
No,
more
no,
in barter?
in barter.
Because that's still different. It's still a different medium of exchange
No,
from
no,
the
but
product itself. Your your
talking
ex
about
your
supply and
example that
demand.
money is the product means
It
that
is a product.
it's that's the tautological part.
Oh.
That's the part that is not making any logical sense.
Okay, well, but then let's just push that aside. Is that one remaining Beanie Baby worth more or less than when, like, that guy bought and hoarded all of them? How much is that Beanie Baby worth in trade? Like, how many cows could you get for it? How many cars?
There's no answer for that.
Well, of course,
That's
yeah.
an individual value thing. I wouldn't pay shit for a
I
Beanie
know, and
Baby
that's how,
personally, but
well, that's how the free market works. But some people would be willing to give their left ass for that.
the point is hoarding money, not hoarding other products other than money that you use money to buy
See,
products
and
with.
this is
Money is not a
where
product in itself because you don't give somebody $1 in order to get $2 back. That never happens. That
okay,
means
well,
money is not a
Nigerian
product.
princes.
Money is absolutely not a product.
No, no, but I mean, it kind of is. It follows the same principles. Is my point. I'm not saying it's
It's a
like
product in the
it's a
sense that
product
somebody
that,
has to
although
produce it and print
actually,
it.
no,
Like
no, it is a product because people do collect money. So there's that. If you want to go down that road,
collect, hoard, whatever you want to call
I
it. Like
have a whole drawer full of money from around the
that's
world.
money you've taken out of circulation. I mean, unless it's
Yeah.
no longer in circulation, then it's just a collector's
Some of it
item.
is,
But
some of it isn't, but I've actually helped people by pulling it out of circulation. So now their money is deflating.
okay.
I, I know that what this is like very
And
complex
yeah, like
conversation.
none of it makes any sense in a logical fashion. But like, if economics is your thing, then logic is clearly not your thing. Like,
Uh,
like economics do not follow logic whatsoever.
ouch. I
As far
mean,
as
but
I'm concerned. Like
they do. It's psychology.
psychology isn't logical either.
Yeah, it is. Well, okay. Psychiatry is not logical. Psychology is. But I mean, we're talking about how do we make things better. And I'm telling you, I've been spending a great deal of time analyzing things and paying attention and looking at things. And those are my thoughts.
Huh.
Take them or leave them. If you want to
Yeah. I mean,
disagree, that's fine.
I
We
mean,
have different
I would just
perspectives.
point to the current economical situation in the US now. Would you say it's better now than it was in the 80s or the 50s or
No, no, the
and
50s actually was a pretty good time in terms.
right and like the amount of hoarding then versus now, would you say it's gone up or down?
Well, it depends. It's proportionally probably the same. Just obviously dollars are worth way, way, way less now. I mean, just go online and use the inflation calculator and try to figure out how much the money that you have today would have been able to get you back
Inflation
in the
is
past.
undeniably a piece of the pie, but it is
The whole pie.
it's no, it's intellectually dishonest to say that hoarding isn't a part of the problem. And
Hoarding,
to even argue that it's helping is like
it
is
is.
abhorrent to
I
logic. Like
No, it is not. Absolutely not. When you understand how supply and demand works, like to pull less of the supply out when the demand remains the same. That curve changes. Like it,
It's not just supply and
it
demand.
gives
There's
you
supply,
more
demand, and
buying power.
capability.
If somebody took, let's say somebody took, all
If
right,
yeah, like
okay,
homeless
what would happen? Just
people demand housing, but they don't have the capability to acquire the supply.
well,
That is the
I
missing
understand,
puzzle
but
piece. It's
no,
not
no,
just supply and demand.
we're talking about purchasing power. Like what this unit of whatever it is, be it dollars or shells or beanie babies, can get you in exchange. And so imagine, let's say there's like $10 trillion of money in circulation, and somebody comes around and they pluck out almost all of it. And they leave like, I don't know, $1,000 left. And you have $500. Would that value go up or down? Let's say they just took it and they put it under their mattress somehow. Would you be able to buy more or less with that?
Still less because the existing infrastructure of the economy means that nobody is going to budge on their pricing. They're not going to be like, well, I'm going to
Well,
lower the
nobody
price.
has any money
I'm
at that point.
yeah,
You're
I'm not
actually
going to
the rich
lower the
guy.
price of my $10 item
You,
to 10 cents
you're
just
the
because there's less
second
money in
richest.
circulation
You're the
because that's
second richest
capitalism.
person on the face of the planet right now. At
What?
that point, with your $500, or
What?
well, maybe the second or third richest person on the face of the planet with your $500, because they left only $1,000 left. They took it all, and poof, it's gone. Maybe they did like a KLF thing and they just burned it, so there's no fucking dollars left. Somebody has $500. You have $500. It
The whole economy collapses,
well, I
actually.
mean,
It doesn't
in
fucking
that
matter.
context, it would, but this is a thought experiment, not a like, well, let's figure out what would actually happen. Like, it's a matter of like, would your purchasing power go down or go up at that point?
As an individual.
Well, there's two people with $500, maybe. I don't know. You probably have the $500, and like your neighbors have a few $100s a piece here and there. So you're now the
like
rich bitch.
the problem with this argument is it's like creating like a hyper unrealistic scenario
No,
and
but
using that
it's
as like proof of the concept,
no,
but
it's a
it's
thought experiment
yeah.
that
I mean, I
like
really
to
have to pee at the
explain.
moment, so
Okay.
uh
Well, I mean, we could probably end it at that point, I guess. But I mean, who would have thought like going from China to supply and demand would be a thing?
yeah, I mean it's hard for me to fathom how you can be apologetic to uh taking currency out of circulation and maybe you can argue that it's still in circulation by being invested or whatever, but like with the so-called corporatocracy, is it really circulating that much? No,
Well,
right?
that's a
Like,
matter of opinion. I'm not apologetic. I'm just coming from a perspective of like, this is how I see it. Like,
hmm.
I look at things as objectively as I can, like no judgment. Um, so, and I analyze patterns, and I have been for decades now. So, I'm not like watching a news organization and listening to what they have to say. In fact, quite the opposite. Um,
Hmm.
I'm just
Yeah,
like,
man.
okay,
I've never been one to watch the news at all, so
yeah. I try to mix it up a little bit just to see what's going on, keep my finger on the pulse. I think we should. So all those people out there, uh, like, yeah, watch a little CNN, watch a little Fox News, just kind of see what the angles are and stuff. Um, but don't watch too much news because it'll wreck you.
It's depressing.
It is, yes, absolutely, and it makes enemies of us all. So yeah. All right. Well, I know you
Definitely
gotta go use the head. So I guess we can end it here. It's been 2 hours. So yeah. All righty. Well, everybody, thanks for sticking it out with us. We didn't have any comments, but that's all right. All right. Well, and
just from ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, we're still friends. Like, we can disagree, but like, we'll work on music. There's going to be a cool song coming out soon, I think, or maybe a whole entire set of songs coming out soon.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for deep sink diving into Chinese democracy and
and shells
and communism and inflation and
beanie babies.
All kinds of different shit.
This is what we do.
There was a lot of great ideas that came out of this and went all over the place, really.
Oh,
so
yeah. I mean,
it'll be good to revisit a lot of this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, we definitely will, for
With
sure.
Empty your bladders.
See, that's the thing. It's like we get all like pissed off when we have to piss. And then we come back and we're like, hey, bro.
At kitchen sink microscopy, the sky is not the limit. The bladder is the limit.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. All right, everybody. Take care of each other.